Bitcoin has made a tremendous achievement over the last 11 years of being able to.
Billionaire Ray Dalio speaks in Davos, says blockchain is great, but let's call it digital gold. This week the world has been talking about the World Economic Forum meeting in Davos. Dalio noted at the WEF conference that he believes blockchain is great, but says let's call it a digital gold. Ray Dalio says there's going to be a supply and demand problem that produces a squeeze. At the time, Dalio spoke about the future of money and the investor said that crypto will be outlawed, probably by different governments. Once again, Dalio spoke on the future of money and the U.S. central bank's next monetary policies. The hedge fund executive believes the Fed has nothing left to do but sell. The Federal Reserve is going to sell, individuals are selling, foreigners are selling, and the U.S. government is selling because it has to fund its deficit, an excerpt from Dalio's interview notes. So there's going to be a supply/demand problem. That means that it produces a squeeze, he added. Dalio's outlook is gloomy and he's not the only one in Davos at the WEF meeting that believes the global economy faces multiple threats. Reporting from the WEF multi-day conference, Reuters reporter Dan Burns highlighted that specific threats like the Ukraine-Russia war, food shortages, and the recent COVID-19 lockdowns in China have no clear end and have compounded the gloom. Germany's Vice-Chancellor Robert Habeck agrees and said, "We have at least 4 crises, which are interwoven. We have high inflation, we have an energy crisis. We have food poverty, and we have a climate crisis. And we can't solve the problems if we concentrate on only one of the crises." Dalio discusses Bitcoin's little spot relative to gold. He explained at the WEF event that right now cash is trash. Of course, cash is still trash, Dalio told the CNBC reporter. "I'm asking you, do you know how fast you're losing buying power in cash?" The hedge fund executive asked. Dalio further elaborated by explaining what he means by saying cash is trash. "When I say cash is trash, what I mean is all currencies in relation to the euro, in relationship to the yen," Dalio stressed. "All of those currencies like in the 1930s will be currencies that will go down in relation to goods and services." In addition to speaking about currencies and cash in Davos, Dalio talked about cryptocurrencies being a form of digital gold. "Cryptocurrencies in particular, I think blockchain's great," Dalio said to the host of CNBC's broadcast Squawk Box. "But let's call it a digital gold. I think a digital gold, which would be a Bitcoin kind of thing, is something that, probably in the interest of diversification of finding an alternative to gold, has a little spot relative to gold and then relative to other assets." While it's been known since May 2021 that Dalio had personally invested in Bitcoin, BTC, 4 sources explained to the crypto reporters Danny Nelson and Ian Allison in March 2021, that Bridgewater Associates would use a small slug of their fund deployed directly into digital assets. That same month, the billionaire investor and hedge fund manager told the world that he thinks governments may apply taxes to cryptocurrencies that could be more shocking than expected.
One of the things that you and I have talked about a lot over the years is cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. And in the past year or two, it felt to me that you had shifted your view about them a little bit and actually got excited to think that maybe Bitcoin and others could get interesting. And I'm curious how you think about that now in terms of whether that's actually an inflation hedge or maybe it isn't.
No, I think, let me clarify again, because some people make stereotypical. I think that cryptocurrencies, in particular, I think blockchain's great, but let's call it a digital gold.
Right.
I think a digital gold, which would be a Bitcoin type of thing, is something that probably, in the interest of diversification of finding an alternative to gold, has a little spot relative to gold and then relative to other assets. But I think that we're in an environment that we're now going to ask, what is the new money? Okay? So, meaning fiat currencies. And when we look at currencies, you hold currencies in the form of a debt.
Right.
And so when I say cash is trash, what I mean is that all currencies, in relationship to the euro, in relationship to the yen, all of those currencies, like in the 1930s,
right,
will be currencies that will go down in relationships to goods and services. And we are in an environment where we're going to be looking at what are those assets, what is the type of money that you could move between countries that's a medium of exchange and a storehold of wealth. And that's what I'm talking about. And I'm saying that Bitcoin has made a tremendous achievement over the last 11 years of being able to. It's a tiny percentage of my portfolio. I think the Bitcoin people get too preoccupied with it. The gold bugs get too preoccupied with it. And I think you have to look at the broader set of assets that serve that purpose.
The economist David Dodge, the former 7th governor of the Bank of Canada, says gold is an antique instrument, and he believes Canada's central bank got rid of its gold reserves for this very reason. Despite saying gold is an outdated financial tool, Dodge said that the leading crypto asset Bitcoin has no place in the Bank of Canada's reserves. David Dodge, the Bank of Canada holding this antique instrument of stability called gold really didn't make any sense. David Dodge, the former 7th governor of the Bank of Canada, thinks gold is an antiquated payment tool and that it's costly to store. Dodge spoke with Kitco News correspondent David Lynn on Thursday and discussed the shiny yellow precious metal. According to Dodge, gold is an archaic instrument and Canada's central bank was correct to get rid of it all. Canada is the only G7 nation that does not hold any gold reserves. The Canadian Central Bank's gold selling trend started in the early 2000s, and by 2016, Ottawa had sold most of its gold reserves. The issue is quite clear, that it costs to hold gold, whereas holding US or Chinese or Euro bonds yields you a return, Dodge told Lynn on Thursday afternoon. That was a strong view. And a view that our international monetary system was in a place that was sufficiently robust, that holding this antique instrument of stability called gold really didn't make any sense. Dodge believes in reducing transaction costs, says the issue of digital currencies is a very important issue. Canada followed in the footsteps of the United Kingdom when the region sold half of its gold holdings, or 395 tons of gold, between 1999 and 2002. UK citizens called the event Brown's Bottom, named after the Chancellor of the Exchequer from 1997 to 2007, Gordon Brown. Canada getting rid of gold was dubbed Polos's Bottom, named after the 9th BOF governor, Stephen Polos. Dodge also touched upon digital currencies like Bitcoin during his discussion with Kitco News on Thursday. Dodge doesn't believe Bitcoin deserves a spot in the book's reserves, but the former central bank governor did not dismiss crypto assets. The issue of digital currencies is a very important issue, Dodge said. What we would like to do, globally and, in Canada, is to reduce transaction costs. The bank and the Department of Finance are working hard on this issue of digitalizing our financial system to reduce transaction costs. The financial system is interested in digitizing the Canadian dollar. What you guys do you think about this? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.